Got old Saquon throwback there, man. So, welcome back to the Fantasy Waiver Wire. It's your boy Tubby. With me, as always, is Greg. We're back for week 5. And we're doing this on a pop-up Sunday, strictly because the Eagles don't play. That was just my thing. There's no way. I'm always way too nervous. I feel like I'm in the locker room with the Eagles. When they walk out, I feel like I'm walking out with them. You know the Liverpool. So you'll never walk alone. That's how I feel about the Eagles. I take them to heart. The most consistent thing I've known in my life. They always show up on Sunday, good, bad, or indifferent. It's always good to see them. Welcome back for week 5.
Already.
We missed a few. We missed a few in between. We didn't get y'all set up for this week, but we're going to do a little countdown into the start of the season. Already 2 games have basically started and almost finished.
Yep.
Ready for week 5. A lot has happened so far. What's going on, Greg? Before I get too far, what's up, man?
Oh, I wasn't able to do the pod last week because of COVID. I had got COVID. My wife went to Atlanta on business, right in the middle of Hurricane Helene. I think I mentioned that on the last podcast, which I was already mad about because it was like they sent her down there knowing full well a hurricane was in the path. Right. And then they didn't make the decision to let her go home till it was too late. You can't catch a flight. Storm's coming in. And then she comes home, and like the first day she's back, like 3 of her employees said that they had COVID. And I was like, oh, my Lord, if you got COVID. And sure enough, she tested positive for COVID, gave it to me.
Man.
And and so, I'm recovering. I'm good now. I mean, you get the few days of really bad stuff, and then you get over it. So it is what it is. We live in a new world now. At least it's not as dangerous as it used to be. It just knocks you out for a little bit, and then you're back on your feet. So, as a result, I'm off to a horrible start in fantasy because I actually made a bad mistake because I was sick. I picked up Kirk Cousins on the waiver wire, but because I was not in the right head, I was foggy. I didn't put him in the starting lineup. I had no quarterback in the starting lineup. My brain thought I had put him in, or that when I picked him up and I had dropped Aaron Rodgers, that he would automatically slot into the starting spot. And I thought I looked at it, and I thought he was in there. And when I'm watching the game on Thursday and I'm excited, I'm like, oh my God, 500 yards! And I go to freaking check the score, and he's on my bench, and I have no starting quarterbacks. Now I had to resort to getting Derek Carr off the waiver wire. It's the only one really available that I think. And even he doesn't have a shot to do well this week, but I'm just going to roll with it. I'm so upset by that because I'm already 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I have a good shot. I would have had a great shot to win this week. Finally got my first win. Now it's up in the air. So it really sucks. It does. So you look down there at the bottom, he's 56 points, and it's sitting on my bench. Luckily, the Vikings defense has been doing well today.
Holy shit. I'm just seeing that now. Like, man.
Yep.
Man. Ooh, they benched Sam. That was a good bench by Sam. Benching Sam Darnold because he's been on fire.
The Jets defense is no joke. They have been watching the game today, and I got it on right now. And they've been all over the Vikings. It's without that pick by Van Ginkel, where he returned it for a touchdown. That it would be 10-10 right now. So the Jets D is no joke. They definitely keep them in games. If Rodgers can get his head out of his butt and actually start playing well again, the Jets would be very deadly with that defense. Just, they were that good last year, and, they had, they just didn't have a good quarterback system to take them anywhere. So, we'll see.
Oh, man. So I was, it's like I didn't even know I knew you had him. I saw that you picked him up. I saw that you picked up Kirk Cousins, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm watching the game, and obviously, my guy's eating off of it, too, because I had Drake London. So he's throwing the ball to Drake London a lot. And I checked the score, and I'm like, obviously, Greg's high score, because it's just like, obviously. And I know you had Koo. I'm like, obviously.
Yeah.
Looked at that. I was like, oh, shit. And then I checked the chat, and then Cats was talking about it in the chat. I was like, damn, man, that sucks. But then I was like, had we done the pod on Thursday, you were sick. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
had we done the pod on Thursday, obviously we've been on here looking at the lineups and
Yep.
definitely,
Yeah. And
that was
chalk it
just
up to COVID. I can't, if I don't win this week, I'm be 0-5, and it's probably very unlikely. And I told my son, I said, maybe this is God's way of just saying, hey, just enjoy football this year.
man,
Don't worry about fantasy too much. Just enjoy the games. Just enjoy life. And
right,
because I'm 1-4 in my other league, so and it's like, wow, it's just not. It's probably my worst year of fantasy ever. The way it
man,
started, and it's just circumstance. I don't have bad players; they're just not performing, and it just is what it is.
yeah. And I think at he had Mooney on
Yeah,
his side too, so
yeah,
that's just
yeah.
yeah. Garrett Wilson, okay, he still had a solid day
He's
today.
still having a solid day. Yeah,
Brees ain't really get you nothing at all. Man,
no, not yet. He's had a couple of big moments, but
how's
nothing
Brees done
major.
for you
And
this year? Let's
he started off really well, and when Braylon Allen came on, it shifted. And another reason I shouldn't have drafted him based on I believe Aaron Rodgers is cancer to running backs because he likes to throw the ball near the goal line. He hates to let a running back take in touchdowns. So you see, like look at the Braylon Allen difference. You look at the first 3 weeks of Brees Hall, 22, 27, and then you've got this
run
kid
that.
coming in, vulturing in those points. So yeah,
They yeah, this kid's a monster, man. I saw a little. I don't know if it was an interview with him. It was a little quote. I was just reading something where they were like, they were saying, "Hey, man, if you could lose about 10 pounds, you can be a little faster." And they were in the nutrition. It was like he's at 6% body fat. He has no fat to lose. Like
yeah,
this is just a monster of a running back, man.
he is. He is.
And
He's going to be great.
and I cannot believe that I can't believe he wasn't in the top 10. I mean, when I saw the highlights, obviously I didn't watch him at Wisconsin, so I'm not gonna say I did, but you get closer to the draft and they start to narrow down the who's and you start to look and see, okay, I see we had Saquon, but I knew we were light at running back.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, but if you can still bring him in on a rookie contract, you imagine him backing up Saquon? That would have
Oh
been
yeah,
obnoxious, man. But we don't even run Saquon. I'm not even gonna get into that. Braylon, you know, Braylon Allen, Brees Hall, that has to be tough. But do you start Braylon Allen? He's still not to a point where on
no,
the fantasy roster would you start him?
I
You
wouldn't.
can't start him.
I wouldn't. Watching this game, maybe against maybe in next week against Buffalo, if they're a little bit more susceptible to the run than Minnesota. I really, because of bye weeks, I had to start Brees Hall, but Brees has been kind of a downer the last couple of weeks, so it's tough when you got that bad matchup. But he's not getting enough carries to warrant a start yet. Brees is still the number one guy,
Right.
so unless anything happens to Brees, but he's a good stash to have in case that you need that depth at running back on your bench. Because if Brees goes down, this kid could get on a tear. Just watching him today, the few times he's been in, he's
Mm-hmm.
been dynamic. It's just he's just not getting the volume. I think part of that again is Aaron Rodgers. You get these games where Aaron Rodgers he has an ego. I think he's a great quarterback. He's historically a great quarterback, but he has to be the man. And what he does is, you get these when you should be running the ball consistently.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to throw. He just has to get his, and so you get away from the running game so much when you're in an Aaron Rodgers offense. You look at historically, the guys like Aaron Jones that's been with him. Aaron Jones could put up high volume, but he just didn't
Right.
get near the targets or carries he needed to do so. So
Yeah. Let's see what's happening in my league. Who else am I? Baker killed me, man. Oh, man.
I have in my other league. That's okay.
39 is that 39-40 mark. If your quarterback
Yep.
can get you that, you're in good space that week. Um, Had Godwin. He did okay for me. He did okay. I actually had Godwin on a little parlay as well too. But
Oh, nice.
I just needed it didn't hit because I needed the Bucks to win the game as well too. So that didn't work out. But I will, talking about my lineup, man. I did have a big uh a big drop. Where is he at? Then we'll go to the bottom. My IR.
It says empty.
No, that's my bench. I'm talking about like my IR where I had
Oh, it just doesn't show your IR.
it doesn't show it. Okay, because I was showing the
Yeah.
matchup.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor being out for me was huge, man.
Yeah.
Um, he's been getting me besides the first week 20 plus each week, which is huge, and then boom, he goes down. I pick up Trey Sermon, and I say, okay, pick him up because at least with Flacco at quarterback, they're going to run the ball. Like Flacco
Mhm.
is not, he's probably not going to sit there and throw it 50 times,
Right.
unless he has to. Kind of like I guess what Kirk Cousins did. Kirk threw it 58 times. That's a lot. So he can if he will because he did it with the Browns last year. But so I put Trey Sermon in my lineup, man. I just took a flyer because Travis Etienne, he just hasn't been good for me this year, like
I
at
know.
all.
Yeah. He's on the verge of giving up that spot to Tank.
Yep. To Tank Bigsby,
Yep.
and then he comes up with a bit of a shoulder injury
Yep.
coming into the week, and he already hasn't been playing well. But I'm like, it just be my luck when I bench him today. The Jaguars go off or something like that. But then I'll throw him back in. Same thing with Najee Harris. He's been solid, but he hasn't been good either. Solid as a flex,
Right.
saying getting, 10, 14, 16, but they're down most of their running backs, Jalen Warren and Cordell Patterson. So it's like he's going to get the ball a lot. I just hope he can do something against Dallas defense, but Dallas is down Lawrence and they're down Micah Parson. So I'm like, maybe there's some room there in the running game for Najee Harris. But yeah, man. My big bench of the day is Travis Etienne. I had Addison in my lineup all week
Mm.
and benched him. I think, yeah, this morning. Benched him yesterday. Benched him yesterday because I saw his touchdown. I saw the points, but when you really look at the targets, I'm like, well, he only got 4 targets. You know what I'm saying? And he
Yep.
had that run. I think he had some rushing yards as well too. So I just looked at the targets and I just wasn't comfortable with the targets. And I was like, let me see first. And then the Jets defense, like you mentioned earlier. So I'm like, man, it's that Addison. Picked up Trey Tucker. I think this could be a little flyer here. When you look at his numbers, 25 the
Mhm.
week prior, then 17.4 last week against Cleveland. And then you have the Devontae Adams situation. So if you have Trey Tucker out there,
Yeah.
I think he's worth a pickup. He's a small back. I mean, a small wide receiver, but the numbers are. I mean, 9 targets, 6 targets. So he's Minshew's go-to guy right now. So you
Seems
have
that
to
way.
you, you just have to go with the flow. Jacoby Myers is in there as well too. Hit or miss type of days, but these are going to be the guys now. So I said, well, with Devontae Adams leaving, let me see if I can, pick up. It's fantasy, man. This is a marathon. You got to
Mhm.
constantly pick up new players, constantly refresh your team, go with the trend,
Yep.
and that's
Without a
what I'm
doubt.
trying to do here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation with Singletary being doubtful today, so I had to pick up his backup.
Well, you have a lot of you got Wandale Robinson. Oh no, you're
I do
going
not.
against
That's not.
Robinson.
That's not me. Yeah, you're going against. That's you. That's your matchup.
That's me too. I'm tripping. Tripping.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I picked up Tracy, who's Singletary's backup, because
what is
Singletary's listed as doubtful. So
yeah.
he again, he's not had a lot of volume. So, but he is supposed to be the lead back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Yeah, how do you feel about this? No, like going against Seattle. Let's see who else is who. So you have Eric Gray backing him up, and he hasn't had many
Yeah.
many
No.
touches at all.
I think you're going to see a lot of Tracy. I don't know what it will be like. I don't
Mhm.
know. Again, coming in rookie out of Purdue, I don't. I got no choice really. I looked at the running backs that were out there, and it was like, all right, do I just take? I just got to roll the dice, take a chance with this kid because I don't. Singletary's doubtful. I can't
Yeah,
keep him in the lineup.
man.
So we just got to cross our fingers, roll the dice, and hope for a big day.
Who are these guys going up? They playing Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be easy. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. You got Ferguson in your lineup. Moore. How's Moore been for you this year so far? It's been
Uh,
kind of
uh,
choppy. A lot of
yeah.
targets.
Yeah, it's again. We're talking Caleb Williams is not
Man.
completely coming to his own yet. I picked him up hoping that he would. he's not really had. You look at his fantasy numbers; he's not had a great start of
No,
the season. So,
no, not at all.
and
Just
so, and
week
that
against
affects,
Indy. That was it.
yeah, that affects everybody on that offense. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I always mention it, man, that those senior year from the two, ironically, Heisman Trophy winners, Caleb Williams and Young, they didn't have good senior years.
mm-mm.
I didn't watch Caleb Williams a lot, but I did watch that game against Utah last year, and I was like, man, this guy. I mean, obviously he played really well to win the Heisman. I'm definitely not taking anything from him. But the next season, I don't think he trended well coming into the NFL. But because you got guys, man, you see him in all the Wendy's commercials. This is
Yep,
right there in college. You're supposed to be working on your game and you off doing a bunch of commercials, but you still got to get your money. So I'm never hating on that.
yeah,
You win the
exactly.
Heisman, you're still in college. They want to pay you to do Wendy's commercials. You should do the Wendy's commercials.
Oh, for
But
sure.
something dropped off in the
Yeah,
meantime, is the whole point. Um, yeah. But damn, they are dragging that off. The targets are there. It's
yeah.
just the production isn't always
He
there.
has not been on target with his targets. That's the problem. Is
Mm,
Moore is reliable if you get him the ball, but I don't think I've watched a few of those Bears games, and I'm not impressed with Caleb's ball coming out and his accuracy. So we'll see. I mean, again,
no.
he's a rookie,
Yeah.
but then you look at somebody like Jaden Daniels, who's got an 84% completion
Mhm.
percentage. Now, yeah. So last week, last couple of weeks, McLaurin's finally catching fire.
Yeah.
So I definitely have him in the lineup, and I think that the chemistry with him and Daniels is now starting to form. So I
Yeah.
think what has really helped Terry McLaurin the last 2 weeks has been Daniels' confidence. Jaden Daniels, just for a rookie,
Mhm.
this worries me as an Eagles fan. That they look like they could actually win the East this year
Mm.
with the way they're being coached right now, the cohesion of the team, and Daniels. When I watched him in that game last week and the week before, the Arizona game, he was just dominant. The Cincinnati game, where he was, over the sidelines, hurrying his coaches to get the plays in, firing the team up. And it's going to benefit. I think that you've
Mm.
seen Robinson's having a good year from the running back standpoint. Terry McLaurin's starting to have a good year. Terry's been very patient with him. So, yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, it's solid numbers for Brian Robinson, man. Just a blip in the road against Cincinnati, but that was Daniels
Mhm.
pass heavy that game. So, yeah,
Yeah. So I played
it's,
against Daniels week 1,
yeah,
and I know, man, a lot happened with Daniels in like 4 weeks, right? He goes from, I don't know if he could throw the ball down the field to MVP candidate in like in less than a quarter of the season. That's how
yep,
just that NFL narrative is like a speedboat, man. It's just 1 week to the next. But anyway, playing against Tampa, even though they lost that game, I think they lost that game to Tampa, but he looked really good down the stretch. I started
yeah,
when they just like, I mean, this is first NFL start. I mean,
yeah,
I would never know what that's like, but I mean, this is first NFL start. And on the back half of that game, I was like, man, this kid is gaining confidence. Even in the loss, I was like,
mm-hmm,
this kid is gaining confidence on the back half of that game. Then you play the Giants game, and I mean, you're still what 23 for 29. It's not a terrible
yeah,
bunch. Your second start, 10 rushes. But then that Cincinnati game is when it was like, oh boy.
yeah,
I don't know if it was that familiarity with his fellow LSU Heisman,
right,
and just that he felt he was probably so focused for that game. Joe Burrow, he probably I'm sure Joe Burrow has been in those LSU locker rooms when Daniels was there, and they kind of look up to those guys a little bit. Kind of like a lot of guys do with Mahomes when they play him. They just try to elevate their game. Um,
yep.
and Daniels was on that night. I mean, on.
On the road 2 weeks in a row, and he's been outstanding. And so going back at home, Washington at home against Cleveland, I expect him to have a big day today. I do. I think Watson and the Browns just seem to be floundering. I think this is a game where Daniels could go off again. So I'm hoping McLaurin has a big day as a result. We'll see.
Yeah, man. I picked up the Commanders because they've been running the ball so well. I picked up the Commanders defense
Mm.
just to try to balance it because I'm like they're playing Cleveland, who sucks right now.
Yeah.
Jerry Judy has been coming along, and I was so pissed. Let me speaking to Jerry Judy. I if you look at I was up on the waiver wire. Let me show it in the chat. I was up in the waiver wire. I was up and I said, just so happened to be up. And I said, oh man, let me see who just releases. Because you know how while they're still sorting out the transactions, the players that haven't been claimed at all will just simply release.
Right.
There'll be like a little delay in between it. So I'm up, man, and I'm looking at Jerry Jeudy, and I go, you know what? Jerry Jeudy releases. I'm gonna pick him up, and then, boom! Right soon as it opened, Rodman picked him right up, like 5 minutes after. It doesn't show the time here, and then you see I'm up right with him, and I picked up Indy's defense, dropped Gesicki. And then he goes, take y'all asses to bed because we're up. It's like 105. Like the market, it just opened up. And it was like three of us up. Endless Cockpit, Rodman, and myself were all up just trying to snipe. But I just dozed off for a second and Jeudy was gone.
That's funny.
So I wasn't super high on him. I just saw, that he was getting a lot of targets. Look at these targets. 8, 6, 7, 9. I get who's throwing the ball to him, but I'm just a target person. It's opportunity.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Opportunity. And everybody's hoping that Deshaun Watson is going to get that Houston swag back, but it just hasn't happened. It just has not happened for him, man.
Yeah,
he's brought a lot of distractions on himself as well, too.
Without a doubt, and he's got more allegations and everything coming up this season. So it's like he just doesn't look comfortable in a Cleveland uniform yet, and I don't know if and when he ever will.
He's almost like he needs to go to a team. But I mean, when you walking around with the worst contract in football, not for him, but for the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. No one's taking that off you. That was just such a bad move.
No one's taking that off you. So he's just kind of stuck there. And then what do you do? But it's almost like if the contract wasn't so ridiculous, he could have went to a team, maybe lay low for a couple years. Get his game back. He just doesn't look. I mean, he's getting sacked 6-7 times a game.
Yeah.
So he just doesn't look. He doesn't look like he has the speed of the game. Like he's kind of out there, just kind of playing slow. I think that's the biggest issue, even with our quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He's just playing slow. It's like everything looks so labored this year for him. I don't.
That's a great point. That is
it's just labored. It's just like 1, 2, 3. It's just like, come on, man. Like, everything's labored.
Holding the ball way too long. I was thinking about this earlier. It's amazing that you said that because watching Jaden Daniels right now as a rookie, he's making this game look easy. Now, it isn't, but he's making it look easy. Jalen Hurts, when you watch him this season and after the 10-0 start, last season when we started going downhill, 29 turnovers since the start of last season.
Yeah.
He's making the game look hard. He gets back in the pocket and it looks like it's so hard for him. Like trying to make a decision seems excruciating. Like there are stretches where he'll get on fire and he'll have a great drive. But that's like 15-20% of the game. The rest of the time, he backs up in the pocket because he's getting time.
And time is there.
I think he is the second most as far as holding the ball in the pocket more than any quarterback in the league this year. And that I think it's over 3 seconds. You can't this is a league where, like, you look at what Baker did to the Eagles last week, and I don't want to get too much in that game because I'll get mad. Baker knew that the Eagles were going to come after him like they did Carr. So they went in with a game plan of getting the ball out quick. Vic Fangio's defense has got guys 10 yards off the ball. It played right into the Buccaneers' hands. And they're throwing these 5-10-yard passes, and they're getting the ball out quick so the Eagles can't get to them in the pass rush. Next thing you know, they're up 3 scores.
Yeah.
What upset me about that game is that Jalen doesn't seem like he's willing to counteract that because you knew the Bucs were going to come after him with the blitz. So we had no hot reads. He's standing there holding the ball in the pocket way too long. So they're not setting him up where Saquon's coming out of the backfield where he can dump it off. Everything looked like it was a 10-15-yard route against this really high pressure fucking offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Vic Fangio never adjusted. He
Yeah.
never brought his corners up when you could see what the Bucks were doing, throwing 5-yard passes.
Yeah.
Why can't you adjust? This
It
team
was
doesn't
pretty much
seem
telegraphed.
capable of
Yeah.
adjusting. And again, it makes it look really hard. And that's going to hurt, the rest of the team. Even when Devontae and AJ come back. Now, granted, I'm not going to panic yet because they were both
Right.
out. And it
Oh
makes
yeah.
a difference.
Oh
But
yeah.
I have a hard time believing that a quarterback coach in that situation wouldn't have at
Mhm.
least been able to stay in that game with the Buccaneers. But
Yeah. I think what hurt them is, and this goes back to the year before the Super Bowl year. When we get down early, then the play call kind of goes to shit. So for instance, then you start to press.
mm-hmm.
And then you start to try to make the tight throws, because you're pressing. I will say this. It's really hard for me to judge the whole offense because they feel only like maybe the Jets game. But other than not the Jets game, I'm sorry, the Saints game. Because it was like, okay, the offense had a lot of time, and then we turned the ball over, still. But we're down 14-0 from before we can blink.
Mm-hmm.
So you're down 7, and there's an easy 7. That's already demoralizing. I mean, it's really hard to give props to the other team when it's so easy to throw into our coverage. Like our guys aren't even getting touched.
No.
So it's like it's easy. You just pitch, you can go against the Eagles defense and do one read throws because you already know the coverage.
Yeah.
So it's like flag football kind of for Baker out there. It just looked way too easy. Baker's a good quarterback, but that was way too easy. And then when you combine that with no pressure from the line, it's just compounds, man. And then you can't tackle.
Yeah.
We fell in every basic fundamentals on defense. We had 14 missed tackles. Maddox, missing tackles left and right. Just key tackles too. Like, you have your head down. So, it's all these tackles when, he comes down, he doesn't even see Godwin, because he has his head down. You know what I'm saying? He's not even looking at Godwin. He sees him, he lowers his head, boom, goes right past him. Then you come back out and you're pressing. I think what could have changed that game had Jalen was able to hit Saquon on that busted play.
Oh yeah.
Kind of got it out to him. I think that could have leveled it. But when you miss that, and then you come right back and they score again, then you're down 14-0. Goddard drops a dime, and then it compounds. Now you're really pressing. Maybe if Goddard catches that and they get it 14-3, but they were still all the way in it. And then my problem with Jalen isn't like necessarily the passing. It's like, yo, leave the pot, run, man.
Yeah.
Like that's my problem with it. It's like he wants to make a perfect play. He wants to just stay there and make that perfect play. So he's just waiting. But even when you look at the interception, the routes were so long, right? So you have these long ass routes. Everybody just goes 20 yards down the field. Now you're sitting there. You get a blitz. Then White comes in, you shake him. Not White. Who was that guy? We have White now. Anyway, linebacker comes in, he grabs your shoulder. That's your indication, bro. Just take off.
Yeah.
But that's the part of it. It's like he's trying, like, yo, man, run. Every quarterback in this league right now, even Baker Mayfield, that pocket gets a little scarce, Baker's gone. Even if he'll get 5 and slide. So that's my problem. I don't think it's the issue with necessarily the passing game. It's like when it doesn't work, take off, man. And then that's how the fumbles happen. It's indecision. He's holding the ball because he won't tuck it and just run. Yeah. I just need somebody to tell Jalen, hey, man, it's open, just run, man. But you can't have a guy tug on your shoulder and then think he just disappeared behind you. Just take off. I think he's trying to prove too much. And he's just not playing freely. It's just something about it where he's just not playing freely, man. And then some of the calls, we can't go 9 plays and Saquon touches the ball twice. This is very elementary. I feel like we panicked down 7-0.
Yeah.
I felt like we panicked down 7-0, even with the Goddard drop, which was huge. That could have been a huge play. But then you start to panic, 14-0, then you panic. Then you look pressed the entire game where you just, I don't know, tunnel vision, man. Yeah. I watched some routes too. John Ross ran some terrible routes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason
I
why
watched this
he's
dude,
been
bro,
available.
run a 13-yard route, fake one way, fake the. I'm like, how much time do you think Jalen has back there? Like, even in a good pocket. So we get AJ back, we get Lane back, we get Devontae back, and like I said, we have a lot of winnable games coming up. Cleveland is winnable, New York is winnable, Cincinnati's winnable, Jacksonville's winnable, and depending on Micah Parsons and Lawrence situation, Dallas is super winnable. Dallas hasn't played well this year at all. So the
I'm
Dallas
more
game is
worried
just
about the
winnable in general.
Washington game than I am the Dallas game
And
right
then we
now.
go to Washington, but hopefully our momentum is
Yeah.
back up and we're a little, feeling a little bit better. Maybe
Yeah.
we're 6-2 or 7-2,
Yeah.
6-2 before we get to Washington. Maybe 6-3, something like that.
Yeah.
5-3, something where we have momentum.
But
But we can't beat anybody
no.
playing the defense that we're playing. We're not
So
tackling. We're not getting pressure. It's huge, man.
let me interject a couple of things. Well, first of all, Rodgers Jets on the 1 yard line. Do they hand off to Brees Hall once? No. Rodgers has to back up and throw it to Garrett Wilson in the end zone. It is now 20-17 Vikings. But this
Oh,
is what I'm
shit.
talking about with Aaron
Wow.
Rodgers. He
Wow.
has to be the man. I have seen them on the goal line so many times, and the running back doesn't get the ball, which upsets me that I drafted Brees Hall. I should have remembered that going into the season. I do not like having an Aaron Rodgers running back. Secondly, back to the Eagles.
I see Bruce.
That strip sack. Yeah, and I'm playing against Garrett Wilson too, who just got the touchdown. So he, just again, it's not my year in fantasy, so it's all right. I'm going to continue to do the podcast. I will give advice, but I would not take my own advice because I'm having a horrible year. But anyway, back to Jalen. That strip sack. I said the same thing to my wife because she was watching the game with me. I'm like, when you feel the guy go by you and tug on your jersey, why are you going to take that long throwing motion? You're basically handing the ball to him. And I'm like, that made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you waited, after he goes by, waited way too long. Then you're going to rear back.
Mm-hmm.
It made no sense. And Jalen's turnovers have killed this team this year. Ineffective coaching. So I wanted to bring something that we talked about. I told a friend today, I normally will not, if the Eagles are playing at 1 o'clock, I won't go out with friends and watch the game at like Wild Wings or anything like that. I said, no, next week, the Cleveland game, I don't care. I'm going to Wild because I'm done with Vic Fangio. I don't think that we can stop anything. And I was in a semi-argument with somebody online that I don't know on the Eagles fan page because people were talking about Fangio's defense against the Bucs and never adjusting. And this guy's like, Fangio's a genius. He's been around this league for 30 years. How can you know? The players aren't executing. And I said, I had to go online and I did a little bit of research because that's all you got to do. Google is your friend. Google is free. And I did a little bit of research. And I'm not going to compare like what ranking his defense was. I'm going to compare the stat that matters most to me, and that is yards allowed. Vic Fangio's defenses have been first in yards allowed only once, and that was it last year when he was with Miami. He's only been second once in 2001. He's been third in yards allowed in 2000, both with the next three. He was second, third, and fourth in yards allowed from 1991 to 2000 with the Indianapolis Colts. Great teams. Great teams. A lot of that has to do with Peyton Manning just dominating
the ball, time of possession.
The field. After that, I have this ranked in order. Right now, he's currently seventh in yards allowed with the Eagles, and this doesn't take in last week's game. It didn't have the Tampa Bay game in yet. After that, this is Vic Fangio's defensive rankings in order the rest of his career outside of those 5 years. 11th in yards allowed, 15th, 19th, 19th, 20th, 20th, 21st, 21st, 23rd, 23rd, 24th, 26th, 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 28th, 30th, 30th, 31st, and 32nd in yards allowed. And this is our defensive coordinator. This is our defensive coordinator. You think when somebody applies for a job, you'll look at their resume a little bit. And we knew that his disciples ran this horrible shell soft zone coverage and teams exploit it. We've seen it ever since we've had Schwartz, since we've had Gannon, since we had Desai. We've seen it over and over again. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse each and every week. But the reason I do it is because it's so, like you say, elementary. If you have guys 10 yards off the ball because you're so afraid of giving up a big play, said it a million times, you're going to give up 1,000 little plays and you will get beat. And I just don't trust him. I gave him credit in the Saints game because he had changed the defense up a little bit. He was starting with a 5 down lineman. He was having a little bit more pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes right back. And that's the problem with Fangio.
Yeah.
Is you make an adjustment for one game because you got embarrassed in the Atlanta game when you gave up the game-winning touchdown. And then you come back in the Saints game. Do you do the same type of defense? No. You regress. You go back into that soft shell against Baker Mayfield, who made him pay.
Yeah, and it compounds when you can't tackle.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because if you're that far back off the line and you get a receiver that catches the ball 5 yards and he's now full sprint, this is why guys like Avante aren't making plays and over pursuing. C.J. Gardner Johnson looks toast.
Yeah.
D. Slay looks toast, and then he's posted on social media.
Man,
yeah. Before you criticize me, look at all the things I've done.
Madness.
This ain't a look what you've done for me yesterday. This is a look what you've done for me lately, Lee.
Right.
We're not looking at what you did yesterday.
Then you go on Micah's podcast and laugh at CD.
Yeah.
What's that about? And then CD reacts to it like, okay. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. It's frustrating.
Like, how do you go on, if, of all people, a Dallas Cowboys player podcast that we haven't played yet? Like, we haven't played them yet, even once.
Yeah.
And you are clowning one of your teammates. That's just, look, man, I've said it time and time again when it comes to Slay. He's not focused on football. He has like 1 foot out, 1 foot in. He wants to do the social media thing. You know, a lot of these guys want to set themselves up when they leave the league. But they have 1 foot out, 1 foot in. That's why I said either Isaiah Rodgers or put Cooper DeJean over there. But you can't bench Slay. That's the hard part, because then it's like a trickle effect. You know, I think with the way the D-backs are playing, only really Mitchell is playing well. Like, he's the only person I feel like is consistently playing well. Yeah. Like, everybody else, man, they always have these little things they really struggle at, man. You know, every time I see what's his name for the Patriots, the safety. Oh man, what's his name? Oh no, we were supposed to get Kyle Hamilton. I'm sorry, for the Ravens. We were supposed to have Kyle Hamilton, and I think we picked up Jordan Davis or something like that. One of those cats. I think that's why I'm so down on Jordan Davis, because I'm like, we could have had Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton was the best defensive back in that draft, and it just, in my opinion, and we could have had him. We was never going to get the kid out of Oregon. That's who I was thinking about. That went to New England. I forget his name. Gonzalez, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway. That's the thing, is those guys are drafted because the people like Fangio, and Fangio's base defense is about only rushing 4. So they draft because they only want to rush. They want the 4 bet. But the problem is you're at a mismatch already, 4 against 5 on the line. So they don't blitz at all. And so you don't make all you got to do is double team 2 of the guys, and then your weaker ones aren't going to get in. So we built our defense around this philosophy of just rushing 4. That's why we don't draft linebackers, because they don't value them. And we don't look at defensive backs, because the system is supposed to prevent scores, and it doesn't. It is a prevent defense all game long instead of in the 2 minutes. It's prevent all day long. And we had a good game against the Saints, but I think you would agree with me, going back since the Super Bowl, and even then we were giving up a lot of yards, but it's just the constant bleeding of yards that we give to teams, and quarterbacks that are bad that we make look good because we don't pressure them, and they sit in the pocket, have all day to throw. But I mean, we'll see how they do against Cleveland. If they make Deshaun Watson look good,
100%,
I'm going to be so frustrated.
100%. I am. I tell you what, you make Deshaun Watson look good, Philly won't get over it. They'll murmur. They'll just keep chipping away. You know, the common denominator, I think, is like I try to look at like, what's the actual problem, and how, if we stop that, like, how can we go further? Our defense has been a really, really, really big problem. So it's like hard for me to focus on other things, like even with the Jalen turnovers. Like, damn, it sucks that he's turning over a lot, but I'm like, those aren't the absolute reasons why we're losing And I seen this post the other day. Somebody was like, man, if Jalen would just stop turning the ball over so we can focus on Nick, everything will be fine. Like they, like the common denominator is Nick. I think that Falcons game left a real bad taste in the team's mouth. I think that's why they came out. They still came up and won against the Saints, because that was the second game, right? They still came up and won against the Saints.
Well, the
But
Falcons
then
was the
you
second
said you
game.
go to that 5, but the Saints made us go to 5. We didn't come out and say this is our scheme this week.
Right.
They made us go to that. They played to our strengths, and then we looked really good against them. But it's so, and that's why next week, then boom, you get spread out against Tampa, and you look really, really bad, man. That Tampa game was disheartening. You're down 14-7, and I'm just like, man, this is like 3 years ago. This is like the year before the Super Bowl. Then the offense just looked rushed and pressing. And Saquon not getting the ball just doesn't sit right with me. I just don't understand. That's why I keep going back to Nick, man. I just keep going back to Nick. I think he's a glory boy. He loves to talk that trash. He loves when that game is on the line, and he loves to gloat. But he's shown that in some tough spots, he doesn't make the best decisions for the team.
Right.
Yeah, for the team. He may make decisions that if it works, he gets the credit. But what's best for the team, I'm not really sure, man. I wouldn't mind moving on to maybe having Kellen Moore as the head coach. And then we, move on from Fangio. But right now we'll have to keep him. But it's like painful watching the Eagles defense and offense, really, but morely the defense. You understand why the offense can be a little stagnant with the injuries. I mean, you can't just lose A.J. Brown. He's one of the top 5 receiver in football. You can't just lose him. Lose 2 1,000-yard receivers and just next man up. So I don't know why the rapport isn't there with Dotson yet. I mean, I know it's been 3 weeks, but still 4 weeks. Something we've got nothing out of Dotson. We've got nothing out of Huff. Nothing out of Huff. We've got nothing out of Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why people can. I think that's why Fangio's saving grace is that Jordan Davis isn't really controlling that line of scrimmage. He won't open it up so Jalen can be that Mack truck. So I feel like I feel like Williams should be starting over Davis. I think I like Williams and Carter in the interior. I think they work well, but they never try to keep them on at the same time. It's just, I don't know. I can go on and on.
Yeah, we could
about that.
Yeah, we could. We could go over Nakobe Dean's struggles. He had a horrible game against Tampa Bay, out of position, making.
He's small.
He's just, and again, instead of getting a tough linebacker, we go for these small because Fangio likes guys that can cover, linebackers that can cover and pass protection. It's like, dude, you've been in the league 30 years and you've been successful for 4 of them. Man. And I don't get it. And he has this long list of disciples, but you watch everybody who plays that scheme. Mm-hmm. Look at the teams that win. Look at Minnesota right now and the Jets. Do they play a soft zone defense? No.
Vikings play one of the most aggressive defenses. Both of them play the most aggressive defenses in football.
And they trust their corners to play on the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell Sauce Gardner to play 10 yards off the ball? Do you think Sauce Gardner would be nearly as effective 10 yards off the ball?
Right. Yeah.
We could go on a long time, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Like you said, they do have a favorable schedule. We'll see what happens going forward.
And that's my optimism there. Yeah. It's, saw AJ at the game last week. So you say, okay, maybe he's trending to start against Cleveland, because you shouldn't be on the sideline like that if you're still out for a very long time. Right. Surely Devontae will be back. I think both our guys will be back from the concussions.
They should be back.
I think the Cleveland game could be a start where we can get things rolling. We still have to understand new year, new coordinators, new system, new this, new that, new player here, new player there. I will say I would like to see Cooper DeJean out at safety. I don't care whose safety it is, really, because he can cover laterally. You guys in the system that we're playing, if our safeties aren't covering right laterally, it just really hurts us, man. I think we get DeJean in there, man. And just mix it up a little bit, man. Get Maddox. I know he's a good tackler, but is he playing that much better than Rodgers? Or do you have him in there to try to stop the run? That's why you have Maddox in there. I'm just trying to get an understanding of like what the Eagles are trying to do. Nolan Smith is getting washed every play. Yeah. Did you see the tight end washing?
Yeah.
I mean, he looks so small. Yeah, I mean, we spent some high picks on these guys, man. Jordan Davis, Kobe Dean, he was in the 3rd round, so I'm never going to poo-poo that. He was a solid linebacker in college. 3rd round is not jumping out the window. But when you get picked in that 1st and 2nd round, we need you to perform, bucko. And Nolan Smith is doing nothing. And we should have DBs and linebackers, proper linebackers, in for these guys. So we've definitely wasted some picks in hindsight, looking back at this team. With the picks that we've had, really only Carter, besides like the Mitchell, we don't know about last year's draft, but really only Carter has kind of worked out for us.
And really, he's been inconsistent. So he just needs to play more consistent, like he did that New Orleans game. Everybody kind of took a disappearing act against the Buccaneers, but we'll see.
But I still feel like his intensity can be there. He's locked in. I guess I'm more so like if anybody's playing well on that line, he is.
Right.
If anybody. Huff has been, bruh. Where's Huff been? Should we bring Reddick back? Yeah. I mean, how far did we go with this?
Way. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's getting down to it in this Jets-Vikings game.
Is it?
Yeah, 23-17, minute and 31 left. Jets with the ball on the other side of the 50. And Rodgers just missed Garrett Wilson, who was wide open. So, yeah, it's getting down to it in this game. And then we're almost
I missed the replay. I didn't see what happened.
Yeah, he just overthrew Wilson.
Was he open?
He was open. He took him a while to get around his defender, and then he got open, and Rodgers overthrew him because of the delay.
I know if I bring this up, they'll just.
Oh yeah, copyright. Yeah, copyright.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, then he hits Wilson again for the first down. Looks like so down at the 30. So anyway, we could probably roll so we can enjoy the rest of the games and
man,
enjoy our Sunday.
Absolutely. We'll go out here and cool out, man. Watch the rest of this. But is that Brees? Okay. Hey, man. Hey, good luck to you the rest of the week, man. Hope you pull it out, get that first dub. You never know, man. Fantasy, anybody can step up. You never know what Carr is going to do today, man. You can't give up hope that quick.
Yeah, I hear you.
You got anything before we get out of here?
No, just glad to be back and looking forward to the upcoming week. But good luck to everybody in your fantasy leagues today.
Yeah, man. That's it, man. We out of here, man. Go Birds, all that good stuff. I get to relax. Chelsea should have won this morning, but I ain't going to go into that. Fucking hell. We gone, man.